In the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson.
And so the inevitable has finally become reality.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm Christian Stoinev, and today we are recapping round one of the NFL Draft, which, as we all expected, started with the announcement that Trevor Lawrence is your number one pick, and he is going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Huge win for the Jaguars. We've known this. Obviously, they've been horrible for the past several seasons, and they get their man. They get their quarterback, who has been pretty dang amazing in college and, has all the potential in the world. Good for the Jaguars fans. Finally something to cheer about. And Trevor Lawrence he knew it. He wore the green suit, and he was ready for this moment. And I think he's going to be a great quarterback there in Jacksonville. That got the night off started. Obviously, as we expected, the number 2 pick was the New York Jets. And guess what? We expected that too. Zach Wilson is there, man. They got their quarterback, the kid from BYU, looking sharp in the suit and ready to take the reins there in New York. Hopefully, for his sake, he can keep his good play up in New York, or else that New York media is going to tear him apart. And then when we got to the 3rd pick, that's when things started to shake up a little bit. Trey Lance is the pick by the 49ers, which had a lot of people questioning why they made this move. They obviously traded a whole lot of draft capital to move up from 12 to the number 3 pick in the draft. Everyone thought it might have been Mac Jones, and then they end up getting Trey Lance, who's still a work in progress. No one expects him to come in day one and be the starter. So, bold move. Hopefully it pays off for them, but they could look back on this if this doesn't end up working out as one of the worst trades in NFL history if he doesn't end up being a starter in the league for a while. With number 4, the Falcons, this pick could have been up in the air to be traded, but nope. They stuck with it, and they got their guy Kyle Pitts, the highest ever selected tight end from Florida. He comes out to the Falcons in Atlanta to help out Matt Ryan in that offense. We go on to number 5, Jamar Chase. The Bengals took my advice. Don't take an offensive lineman that high when you have a need for another position in a higher paid position in the league. So they get their wide receiver, Jamar Chase. They're getting him in a rookie deal for the next 4 years, and this kid looks to be a stud. So great pickup there for them. At number 6, Jalen Waddle's the pick for the Dolphins. Many people thought it could have been Devonta Smith here, but they go Jalen Waddle. Nothing to knock there. Pretty good pick. The Lions get Penei Sewell, one of the best picks in the draft, as they get a great offensive lineman who many people think is a surefire Hall of Famer. The one thing I don't like about him is he sat out this last season. So we'll see what happens with Penei Sewell there. But good pick for the Lions, at least based off the tape, based off the history that this kid has shown in college. Number 8, the Panthers go with Joyce Horn. They were the 2 top cornerbacks in this draft that we knew, either Surtain or Horn. Kind of can't lose here, as these two seem to be surefire starters in the league. The Panthers get Joyce Horn, and with the very next pick, the Broncos get Patrick Surtain. A lot of people thought the Broncos might be in to get a quarterback, which they don't, which we will talk about a little bit after I get through these picks, because, maybe there's a certain Aaron Rodgers that they might be hoping to acquire or something. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. But they end up getting a cornerback. Now, this opened up the door for what would happen after the next pick, as the Eagles take Devonta Smith, the receiver. The Heisman winner goes to the Eagles. Great pick there. I love it for the Eagles. They actually traded with the Cowboys to get up there and make this selection. So a little NFC East bargain there, and they get their guy Devonta Smith. And then this is when things really got surprising. The winners of this draft, in my opinion, as much as I hate to say this and it pains me to say it, the winner of this draft is the Chicago Bears, ladies and gentlemen. The Bear fans have been doing just not great. Obviously, there were the Russell Wilson rumors, which honestly, they're just rumors. And if we didn't know any of that information, we wouldn't have been knocking the Bears as much as we would have. They're still dealing with the Mitch Trubisky catastrophe and the fact that he didn't pan out to be the quarterback that they thought was going to be. And that's what a lot of what the 49ers did here to move up to get Trey Lance is very reminiscent of what the Bears did to move up to get Mitch Trubisky. Obviously, they left Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes on the table in that year. The same could be said about the 49ers if Trey Lance doesn't pan out and Justin Fields and Mac Jones end up being better than him. But we will see what happens with that with time as time goes on. But the Bears move up. Yes, they gave up a lot of draft capital here. They gave up the first round pick for next year. that Chicago's going to have, which, to be quite honest, might be a pretty solid pick, because if they're starting Andy Dalton, no one really expects them to be a contender for the Super Bowl. And even if they have to start Justin Fields, unless he comes in and does some incredible things, I don't expect them to contend for a Super Bowl this year. I don't think anyone really expects that. So, that pick might be between the 15, around the 20 range next year, which is a pretty solid first-round pick to give up, on top of obviously swapping picks this year with the New York Giants to make this deal. I think it's a win for the Giants as well to move back. They still got their playmaker in this draft, and they got an extra first-rounder for next year as well. So good for the Giants, but again, based on the circumstance, I think this is a huge win for the Bears. You go into a season where you have Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, which pretty much didn't even make you a playoff contender, in my opinion. I just didn't think they were going to be contending for a playoff spot. They've, lost a couple playmakers. Cordero Patterson is gone. So special teams, that's a huge knock for them, because now they're not going to be starting with the ball in great field position when you lose a guy like Cordero. So that offense is going to have more work to do. And their defense, their defense has always been pretty well, but it's just like with any elite defense, it only has a sustainability of so long. So if this team starts off the year with their offense being pretty crappy again, that defense is going to give up even earlier than they gave up last year. Not that they gave up last year, don't get me wrong there, but I'm just saying it's hard to get motivated as a defense when you're the one doing all the work consistently. And so hopefully for their sake, they still said that Andy Dalton is going to stay their starter, but obviously that's only until Justin Fields is ready. And, Ryan Pace, the GM here, and the head coach Matt Nagy, obviously trying to save their job. So I have a feeling Justin Fields is going to have to come in soon. And hopefully for the kid, they don't rush him into it. There were a couple, technical things that people were knocking on Justin Fields, but the dude is a baller. He's got the skill set for what seems to be the quarterback of 2021, the type of QB that can run when the play breaks down and get the throw out. That is the one knock on his mechanics, is his release was pretty slow compared to the other top 4 quarterbacks in this draft, which obviously gives the defense more time to get to him for sacks. But he's got the speed, he's got the agility to get away from those edge rushers. So we will see how he does in Chicago. But overall, a huge win for the Bear fans, gives them some hope, and at least sets them up to have an exciting season. Whether that goes great or not, we shall see. The Cowboys at 12 get a linebacker, which I hate when teams do this. They just draft for the flashy player. Micah Parsons seems like a great player, but the Cowboys do not need linebackers at all. They have spent so much money on their own linebackers in the past couple of years, so they have them under contract, and they just played like crap last year. So hold your own linebackers accountable. You have money there that you're not getting rid of with these guys. And now you draft another linebacker, which is not a position of need. They did this last year when they drafted CeeDee Lamb. What are you doing? You did not need a wide receiver. And obviously that's why they got torched last year. So interesting move there by the Cowboys. They did have the number 10 pick, but I think once they saw the 2 cornerbacks off the board, at this point, those were the guys they were targeting, and they were now gone. Chargers get Rashawn Slater at 13. Good pick. Protect Justin Herbert. At 14, the Vikings traded with the Jets. I think the Vikings realized that there would still be one of the top linemen available for them with this trade if they were willing to move down and wait for it. And quite honestly, they need a left tackle more than they need a right tackle. With Kirk Cousins there, you need to protect his blind side. And Elijah Vera Tucker plays on the right side of the line. They trade with the Jets. The Jets take Elijah Vera Tucker here. Patriots get their guy in Mac Jones, which there's just the fear that, everyone hates on this quarterback. Everyone's saying he's the worst of the 5. He's not going to make it. And there's just a feeling that with Belichick, and they know how to bring up a quarterback, we shall see. Obviously, Brady could have just been the fact that Brady's amazing. So this is where the Belichick coaching and that system will really be put to the test. If Mac Jones ends up being a hell of a quarterback, give the Patriots a lot of credit. 16, Cardinals get Zaven Collins, a linebacker. Second linebacker off the board. Obviously not as good as Micah Parsons, but solid from Tulsa. Raiders get an offensive lineman, Alex Leatherwood. Good pick. They needed lineman help. So why not? But quite honestly, I think they missed there because they could have gotten Christian Darrisaw, which on most boards seemed to be the next top offensive lineman, and this helped the Vikings later on. 18, the Dolphins get an edge rusher in Jalen Phillips from Miami. Washington gets a linebacker that was mocked pretty much everywhere that they would get in Jamin Davis from Kentucky. Good pick. Now the Giants here get Kadarius Toney, a wide receiver from Florida that a lot of people are saying quietly has a chance to be the sleeper wide receiver of this first round. Everyone obviously in Florida was enamored with Kyle Pitts, and a lot of people think that this kid wasn't getting the right attention. The Giants pick up the extra first rounder for next year from Chicago and some picks and still get a playmaker in this draft, which is what they were going after. So they get the wide receiver there. The Colts get Kwity Paye, an edge rusher from Michigan. Solid. Titans, Caleb Farley, a cornerback from Virginia Tech. This pick really, it could go in two ways. It could be an amazing draft pick, or it might just be a bust because this kid has had some injury concerns. And we will see what happens with that. The Titans need a defensive help. They get their cornerback. And then the Vikings here get Christian Darrisaw. Like I said, worked out for them. They traded and picked up 2 third-round picks for today in exchange in swapping picks with the Jets. And they still get their offensive lineman, the offensive lineman that they needed. He is a natural left side of the lineman. That's what you need with Kirk Cousins being a righty. He's going to protect Kirk's blind spot. Gives him more time in the line. Should be a huge win for the Vikings getting Christian Darrisaw. Great pick there. Steelers get Najee Harris. I mean, he was great in college, so get you a running back. You lost your top running back in James Conner this offseason to the Cardinals, so maybe plug and play right there with Najee Harris. Jaguars get the next available running back in Travis Etienne, a running back from Clemson. The Browns get a corner, Greg Newsome II, which is the third top corner in most people's board, but most people thought this was a top 2 cornerback draft class. But you never know. There's the next guy up, Greg Newsome II, and he's in Cleveland, who has a good defensive line, which means those quarterbacks are going to be pressured. Maybe this is a huge win for the Browns. And then here's where I felt good because the Ravens got Rashad Bateman, who is another sleeper wide receiver in this first round out of Minnesota. Many people thought that he had the chance to become maybe the best wide receiver to come out of this draft class as well. So seems to be a very strong wide receiver draft class. If you got a wide receiver in the first round, more than likely it's a win for you. So good for them there. The Saints get an edge rusher out of Houston, Peyton Turner. Kind of questionable there, but I mean, by the bottom of the first round, really, it was only the Packers who people were watching. And I'm going to talk about the Packers in a second. They get Eric Stokes, the cornerback from Georgia. Again, it seemed to be a 2 cornerback draft, but this is the next guy up on the board. Played at Georgia, good size, good speed, and they need cornerback help. And then the Bills get Gregory Rousseau, an edge rusher from Miami, just to help out that defense. They wanted edge rusher help, and they get that. The Ravens, with their second first-round pick, get Jason Owen, another edge rusher from Penn State. And last but not least, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who it didn't really matter what they selected. It's just a plus for them since they brought everybody back from that Super Bowl team. They get Joe Tryon, an edge rusher from Washington. So now, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. I will have a guest on next week who is my buddy who's a Packers fan. I'm giving him a few days to gather his thoughts and get his heart rate back to normal, as all hell broke loose yesterday in the land of the cheeseheads. As Aaron Rodgers says, he doesn't want to come back to Green Bay, and the rumors started swirling about them needing to trade him because he hasn't gotten any help. And because they drafted Jordan Love last year in the first round, a quarterback to eventually replace him. I have a huge problem. Call me old school, but I'm of the belief that the players work for the organization. The organization has to prioritize themselves first. The players, part of that, but they need to protect themselves as well. So when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, to me, nothing wrong with that. Aaron Rodgers is getting up there. Aaron Rodgers could get injured at any point. Why not take this guy who you believe could be the next Aaron Rodgers? And even if Aaron Rodgers sticks around for 5 or 10 more years, you can always trade this guy and get rid of him and get draft capital in return. But this didn't sit tight, didn't sit great with Mr. Aaron Rodgers, who we all have to hail Aaron Rodgers. He's the best quarterback in the league. Great. He might be the best quarterback in the league. But guess what? The Packers have been one of the best teams in the league. And you know why? That's because it's not just Aaron Rodgers. They've had to draft. They've had to get free agents. They've had to build an organization. There's been teams with wonderful quarterbacks before everything that was going on, a la the Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson, that weren't competing for a championship because the team maybe wasn't doing their job in building a team around that particular player. And there's many examples of this that we could go on and on and on with. But the Packers, like it or not, have been in the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. That's not just by a fluke. That's not just by having Aaron Rodgers and nothing else. So the Packers this offseason paid that top running back. They paid top running back money to Aaron Jones and kept him around to help Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers and everyone that's on his side is complaining about him not getting any help. What help does he need when they've been a top 5 offense pretty much the past 5 to 10 years? Anytime Vikings have played the Packers, guess what we fear? The offense. We don't fear the defense. We know it's going to be a shootout. We fear the offense because, yes, 90% of the offense is Aaron Rodgers, but that's why he's paid the highest in that whole team, is because he has that weight on his shoulders. And if he didn't want that weight on his shoulders, then no problem. No problem. Then take a pay cut and we'll use that money and we'll bring in another star wide receiver. But in this league, you have to build a team. You don't have to build just an offense. And now, I'm not on the Packers bandwagon here saying they've been incredible in what they've been doing lately. I think they've had some bad draft picks. But the fact that they've drafted for defense, to me, is not a problem. They should be drafting for defense. Why did they lose the game to the Buccaneers last year? Was it because they were missing a wide receiver? Or was it because they had no cornerback depth? So, to me, when this pick came in at 29, everyone was waiting for it, thinking they're going to have to pick an offensive player to help Aaron Rodgers. What are you going to help him with? Fine, you get Elijah Moore, the next wide receiver up on the board. Take Elijah Moore. Where did the Packers offense go from there? From number 2 to number 1? Okay, wonderful. You just improved a side of the ball that you didn't really need to improve much on. But they were smart. I give the Packers credit for not folding here. They drafted Eric Stokes. Now, Eric Stokes may be a bust. He may be a horrible player in the NFL, but they drafted a position of need. How many of us watched that play at the end of the first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they gave up the 50-plus yard touchdown pass to Scotty Miller and said, what are the cornerbacks doing? That's your answer right there. If I'm Green Bay, yes, I'm drafting for need. My defense needs the help more than my offense. And that's just the way it goes. That's smart drafting, at least position-wise. Now, like I said, player-wise, that's a different story. But I'm not with the whole argument that the Packers should have been drafting offensive players. You didn't have a need for offensive talent. I'm sorry. Like, if you have the number 1 rushing team in the league, are you going to be drafting another running back, or are you going to be trying to make your whole offense better and draft some wide receivers so that you can make a better and more well-rounded offense? That's just the way it goes. I don't understand why this doesn't apply to the way the Packers have built their team. So again, it's just this era that we're in, and I get it's the whole player empowerment era, but come on now. Like, this is not... Would people have been happier if the Packers signed Kenny Golladay, or would they have been happier if they signed J.J. Watt this offseason? So, to me, signing J.J. Watt makes much more sense. Your defense has not been as good as your offense, and Super Bowl championship teams tend to have top 10 offense, top 10 defense. If your offense is already in the top 10, guess what? You're trying to address that defense and get it up there. So I don't knock the organization. I never thought I'd say this, but I am on the Green Bay side here. To me, I just think, sorry, Aaron Rodgers, you've been competing for a championship. You've had great teams. Sure, sometimes maybe the calls don't go your way. Hey, guess what? Your head coach made a bad call and didn't let you go for it on 4th down. Okay, but you had that play. You had that opportunity. You had the lead. You had that chance to get to the Super Bowl. Go ahead and get traded. Go get traded to another team, and let's see you get back to that position. It's not that easy. And this is what's going on. I'm just going off on Aaron Rodgers because sometimes the grass ain't greener on the other side. And I think this is just a perfect example. And we live in such an era where it's the instant gratification era, and all these athletes want a championship. And if they don't get the championship, they're quitting by the next season. That's not the way it goes. Like, there's only one champion per season. And guess what? You've been in the top 4 the past 2 years. Now, if you can't get over that hurdle, okay, work on yourself a little bit more. But at least don't take it for granted that you're in the championship game for the past 2 seasons. So, I had to go off on Aaron Rodgers, and I'm sorry. If you guys don't like that, get at me, and then let's have a conversation because I want to hear the other side of this argument. But like I said, I'm going to have a lifelong Packer fan come on and talk this out with me. I'm not sure how he feels or if he's on the Aaron Rodgers camp or in the Packers camp. But, again, there's a lot more that goes into it. Aaron Rodgers, if I'm the Packers, I would just say, fine, don't come. I don't need to trade you. I got Jordan Love because I'm a smart organization. So I got Jordan Love. If you don't want to play, guess what? You owe me money. Because at this point, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up to training camp, he owes the Packers money. And he doesn't have to get traded. So you either come play and do your job, or if you don't want to come, that's fine. Sit at home. Waste another year. You're not going to make the top 4. You're not going to make the top 32 this year in the league with this attitude, and you sitting at home. So see you later, bud. Sit it out. Sit out the next 2 years of your career, of your contract. And if he doesn't like it there and he doesn't plan on coming back in Green Bay, guess what? In 2 years, when you're a free agent, you don't have to come back. That's why you're a free agent. But you signed that offer. You signed that contract. That's kind of how it goes, buddy. So that's my rant. It's just like the Deshaun Watson thing. And he was super unhappy that they didn't consider his opinion on the head coach signing. They don't have to. Listen, considering something doesn't mean you have to agree with it and make that decision. It just means you have to weigh that as an option. So when he wanted Eric Bieniemy as his head coach, the Texans could have put Eric Bieniemy inside their coaching candidates. But then the Houston Texans, who, if you're a GM, that is your job. That's not Deshaun Watson's job to choose a head coach. But we are in this era where we're just letting the players decide everything. And it's almost, so who was going to be blamed if the Texans signed Eric Bieniemy and he turned out to be a horrible coach? Are you going to blame Deshaun Watson, or are you going to blame the GM whose job it is to bring in the head coach? So again, that's just the way it goes. So who's getting credit for are we giving the Packers any credit? The organization for who they've drafted? Are we giving them any credit for drafting Aaron Rodgers? Sorry. If Jordan Love turns out to be awesome, people better give that Packers organization credit. Can't believe I'm saying all this as a Vikings fan. Well, anyway. All right. I'm just going to wrap this episode here. I'm going to have some guests over. We need to talk about the Bears and their huge win. Like I said, pains me to say that too, but the Bears finally have hope. They did the right thing, made the right trade that they needed to make. And quite honestly, I think they drafted the right guy for their offense, for that fit, for that city. Mac Jones may turn out to be better, but you take Justin Fields because you need excitement. And quite honestly, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy needed to save their jobs. At least this buys them a little bit of time. If Justin Fields shows any kind of potential here in the first year, let's say they get to the playoffs with him, I think they have a good case for keeping their jobs. And then obviously that buys them an extra year, and we'll see from there. But for now, that was the right move. We will see what teams do with round 2 and round 3 today in the NFL draft. I've been calling pretty much all the shots that my Vikings have made, even before the pick. I texted my friends. I said they should trade down. Once I saw that the linemen that they were targeting were still available. So they did that. I loved it. And they got more draft capital than I thought they could get. I was surprised they dropped so low to 23. Wasn't sure Christian Darrisaw would still be there because they had to wait 9 picks to get him, but he was there. That's a huge win. And they got 2 extra third-rounders, which I have a feeling they're going to trade 2 third-rounders probably to move up into the second round today and maybe get an edge rusher or maybe get one of the top cornerbacks that are available. But at this point, the Vikings filled that position of need. I'm very happy with the pick. And guess what? They picked an offensive lineman later in the first round, so he's going to be even cheaper for them. Great job, Vikings. All in all, a great day for the NFC North, unless you're a Packers fan. But hey, also for the Packers, you guys drafted a position of need. So good job there. All right, we're going to wrap it here. Thank you guys for joining. Remember, please subscribe and share if you can. And I'll be back with another episode next week. We'll have some Packer fans on. We'll have some Bear fans on. And we will talk more recap of the NFL draft. Exciting time to be a football fan. Thanks again, guys. And I'll see you on the next episode.